pretty darn good. And of course, everybody fights for the best ones. The treats are things like the M&Ms and some of the breakfast toasties. The Army's eating much, much better than the grandfathers of these soldiers did and the great-grandfathers of these soldiers in the Second World War. Let me hold the camera and show you my crew. On camera left is Charlie Miller. He's been our superb and intrepid cameraman. On my right is Jeff Barwise, the brilliant satellite engineer. That's the crew which really brings you these pictures. The pictures you're seeing are absolutely phenomenal. These are live pictures of the 7th Cavalry racing across the desert. You've never seen battlefield pictures like these before. What you're watching here is truly historic television and journalism.
Well, Rogers, we were saying in the office the other day, who would have thought that the scud stud of this war would be a 62-year-old, somewhat balding reporter, but he and his crew has done marvelous work, as of course have the men he is traveling with. He's taken us for some sort of ride. Short break. Our coverage continues with an update from Darren Kagan in just a moment.
America's most popular camera series is now digital. Introducing the all-new, all-weather, all-digital Stylus. Olympus. Nothing's impossible.
You know what, brother? When you love something, you have to let it go. I know, but I just wanted to just... Why?
Introducing Romano's Macaroni Grill to Go with curbside service. Chefs make it, you take it.
CNN tomorrow. Forces fighting on the front lines. But what about soldiers operating in the shadows? Go inside Special Operations as they lay groundwork for the battle for Baghdad. American Morning with Paula Zahn. CNN tomorrow, 7 Eastern.
I'm Darren Kagan, live in Kuwait City, where it is just after 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Here is what we know at this hour. CENTCOM tells us that 2 more U.S. Marines have died. Both were in vehicular accidents, one of which occurred in a firefight. And Iraq's vice president warns that a suicide bombing that killed 4 U.S. soldiers will not be the last. A driver beckoned for help from soldiers in the 3rd Infantry. They went to help, and the driver killed them by blowing himself up. Iraq says that will happen again. U.S. officials say soldiers will have to treat apparent civilians with greater caution. U.S. troops in and around Nasiriyah have made several chilling discoveries. Residents pointed them to shallow graves where they found the apparent remains of 2 Americans killed in last week's Iraqi ambush. And U.S. battle fatigues, name tags gone, splattered with blood, were also found, along with a metal cot and a car battery, possibly implements of torture. A mission of mercy turned into a mess in the Iraqi town of Safwan. Residents swarmed over an aid convoy, making off with emergency supplies before the convoy's escorts could get it to the sick and the infirm. There is some good and disturbing news about those whose job it is to tell the news of this war. 3 Arab journalists, once embedded with the U.S. troops, went missing last week. They are back safe. They are back here in Kuwait, though what happened to them remains unclear at this point. Also unclear, but more dire today, is the fate of 2 journalists from New York Newsday. Matt McAllister and Moises Saman disappeared while in Baghdad at the same time that Iraqi officials reportedly were asking about their activities. Their editor believes they have been detained. In other news, Asia may hold a vital clue for American researchers studying the spread of severe acute respiratory syndrome. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that SARS, as it's called, spread through part of Asia so quickly that it might be airborne, spreading without face-to-face contact. CDC is still investigating. CNN's coverage of the war in Iraq continues right now with Aaron Brown. Aaron, good morning from Kuwait.
Darren, good morning to you. It's nice to see you again. And we'll get to the newspapers in your part of the world and lots of other things over the next couple of hours. Thank you very much. It's nice to see you. And for those of you who are just joining us, we try and give you not just the headlines, but then take down the next level, sort of the events and the pictures and the moments that shape the day. The casualties came in early Saturday morning after a car bomb exploded, killing 4 from the Army's 1st Brigade. The bomb detonated near the central Iraqi town of Najaf after an Iraqi suicide bomber driving a taxi pulled up to a coalition checkpoint waving for help. The bomb went off. The tactic was praised by the Iraqi vice president, who said in a news conference, "It will not be the last."
This is only the beginning, and you will hear more good news in the coming days. These bastards will be welcomed at the level and in the way they deserve.
President Bush, again in his weekly radio address, warned about war crimes and warned about the consequences.
Given the nature of this regime, we expect such war crimes, but we will not excuse them. War criminals will be hunted relentlessly and judged severely.
Day 10 of the war also saw coalition forces attempting to tighten a hold on Basra. U.S. warplanes used laser-guided missiles to destroy a building where 200 Iraqi paramilitary fighters were believed to have dug in. The Iraqi Republican Guard units were also targets on Saturday as American-led forces dropped 1,000-pound bombs on their location near Nasiriyah.
Our air power is putting enormous pressure around Baghdad on the 3 key divisions of the Republican Guards. And so this is not time that's wasted. This is time that's being very effectively utilized to grip the Republican Guards and degrade them.
Also in Nasiriyah, a grim discovery. Marines uncovered a number of bodies, fellow Marines who died in the fighting for the city. CNN's Alessio Vinci reported from the scene.
U.S. Marines here in Nasiriyah are spending a considerable amount of time in trying to recover some of the bodies of the fallen comrades who were killed in action here last Sunday during a bloody firefight between Marines and Iraqi forces.
Nasiriyah has been the scene of some of the fiercest fighting of the war. Art Harris is an embedded correspondent there.
Infantry units this morning did encounter resistance. Some of the resistance they encountered included Iraqis with AK-47s and human shields.
At the Pentagon briefing, the Joint Chiefs Vice Director, Major General Stanley McChrystal, said the coalition clearly controls the skies.
We claim air supremacy for most of the country except for a small part around Baghdad, but we fly effectively in Baghdad every day and night.
But the U.S. will have to wait to use a portion of the Tomahawk cruise missiles in the theater after Saudi Arabia complained that some of those weapons, fired from U.S. ships, had mistakenly landed on Saudi soil.
Basically, we have a situation where the Saudis have said, can you see if you can figure out what has caused this, and we do not want to in any way hazard the people of Saudi Arabia or any of the other countries where these may transit.
Humanitarian aid continued to flow into Iraq, U.S. Special Forces providing protection, so 2,000 daily rations and 3,000 bottles of water could be handed out. It is just a start.
Well, hopefully we gave the local leader an element to provide his people a little hope. We told him this will not be the last time we do this, but he's got to cooperate, and his people have to cooperate, or it becomes a very hazardous situation for everyone.
As day turned to night, explosions rocked Baghdad again, targeting again the center and the outskirts of the city with repeated bombings.
We've also seen some massive blasts.
And in the north, CNN's Ben Wiedemann reported hearing a series of intense explosions, apparently coming from the important northern city of Mosul.
5 huge explosions within the space of less than an hour as these planes dropped these massive bombs on the Iraqi positions behind us.
That's the broad strokes of the day. We'll start to put the pieces of the puzzle together one piece at a time. And the first piece in this hour comes from Alex Perry, who's an embedded correspondent, a reporter with Time Magazine. Alex, I'm not sure where you are, so tell us what you can about your location and report to us what you can about what you see.
Well, for the last few days, my units, the 3rd Brigade of the 3rd ID, have been pulling convoy security. We've been taking checkpoints on bridges, ensuring that the convoys can get through. That task now seems to be tonight. We moved up with a vast column of the third ID and started to push towards Baghdad. We're now about, I guess, 100 k's south.
And over those 3 days, has the situation changed? Was it dicier 3 days ago, and now it's pretty stable?
It's well, we're stable now. We're not under threat at the moment with such a vast force around us. But the last 3 days have been interesting in the sort of dilemmas that the American forces are facing. My unit yesterday was attacked by sort of Iraqi irregulars dressed in civilian clothes. They came under mortar fire, AK-47 fire, perhaps even rocket-propelled grenades as well. It took them a full 25 minutes before they could respond, simply because in the town where the fire seemed to be coming from, two kilometers away, there were children on the roofs waving white flags as the fire was coming towards us. They really have a very difficult job trying to pick out who is hostile and who perhaps might be surrendering, or who is just incidental civilians passing by.
Do you sense any frustration growing in the people you're traveling with, that the tactics that the Iraqis are throwing at them?
There is frustration. Yeah, there is a lot of frustration. The one thing that can be said is that the Americans have on their side is they, have incredibly sort of protective armor, so they can sit there in these situations and take fire and try and work out how to respond. But it is in no ways a conventional war right now. They're facing a guerrilla force, and they've been given instructions that any civilian that approaches them is to be treated as suspect until proved otherwise.
And what does that mean in terms of how they're treated?
Well, that means people are say if a car will approach a checkpoint, it will be asked to stop 50 yards back. The occupants will be motioned to get out, put their hands up and lie on the ground, and then men will approach, with guns ready. This will, even if there's children and so on in the car, the same treatment is meted out to all. It may seem a little harsh, and then yesterday there's this car bomb,
right,
which kills five soldiers. So the soldiers realize they have to do this, but it does certainly get in the way of developing any sort of feeling of empathy between perhaps the civilian Iraqi population and the soldiers, because when they first meet, they have to treat each other as enemies.
How was the news received of this car bombing? Did that change the attitude of the soldiers and officers you're traveling with?
I think, yeah. It sort of built on the outrage that was sort of felt in the ranks when the Marine maintenance crew was captured and then paraded on TV. I think there was a huge amount of outrage at that, and particularly with the units I'm with, who are trained for combat.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, they were pulling security, essentially a sort of policing mission.
Alex,
they were getting pretty itchy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you. Call us back anytime. Alex Perry, who will file as he can for us and for Time Magazine. Thank you very much. David, do I have time to talk General for a minute? Okay. We're going to cut you loose tonight so you can get some rest, because you've been working all day too. This tension, I just want your thoughts on one thing here. This tension that seems to be developing between whether or not the plan was right, there are enough troops there, whether the expectations were reasonable. A lot of the hit now is being taken by General Wallace, Lieutenant General Wallace, for saying this looks like we're going to be here for a while, right?
Sounds like he's having a rough time down there, and he's one of the absolute top generals in the United States Army. He's smart, he's capable, he's objective, he's incredibly thorough. He knows this operation inside and out, and he's one of the guys I would listen to if I were in uniform.
Let me just ask for your opinion on this then. What is so terrible about saying to the American people at this point, or through a reporter at this point, look, this is trickier than we imagined it would be, and it's going to take longer than we suspected it might be? Why, if that is so, what's so terrible about saying that? Why why come down on him?
Well, I think there are many, many factors in war. I mean, obviously, part of war is appearance and gaining and maintaining ascendancy over the enemy, convincing him of the inevitability of defeat. And so it's only natural that the leadership doesn't want to show any chinks in the armor, doesn't want to admit any surprises or anything like that. And this, of course, is at war with reality, and this is where credibility gaps come in. So you're playing to different audiences here. To be honest with you, I think that, you know, there are several different factors at work here. I mean, one of them is that war is also about people's reputations, and it's about their futures. And people are very sensitive about this. And so there are inevitably compromises. There are people who will come out of this war with enhanced reputations. There are people who will come out of it with diminished reputations. And there is concern because that translates into political support for the war. So there are many, many dimensions of this. But I think the fundamental dimension is that for the United States to succeed in this war, the Iraqis must be convinced that their defeat is inevitable. That the United States will do whatever it takes, however long it takes, whatever changes in methodology, however many forces. We're in this, we're not going to lose it. We're going to win.
Have a nice early rest. It's always good to have you here. I'm
good to have been with you.
Not quite sure how I get along without you for a while, but thank you. General Clark, we'll take a break, David. We'll take a break, and our coverage will continue in just a moment.
When you discover you have termites in your home, it's easy to panic. So the first thing you should do is ask your pest control service some very important questions. Ask if there's a treatment that starts working immediately. Ask if it will completely wipe out termites. And ask how long it will take. So don't let termites panic you. Just ask for Termidor. Because if you're not asking for Termidor, you're asking for trouble.
Today, information means everything. And only Time Magazine brings you into the heart of what matters most. The people who change our world. The events that transform our lives. Diverse perspectives that turn information into insight. It's all inside Time. And now, a special offer for CNN viewers. Get this handheld organizer free with your paid subscription of 56 issues for just 99 cents an issue. Call now with your credit card and receive this handsome travel alarm clock absolutely free. You don't just read Time, you experience it. Learning more, understanding more. Use your credit card now. Get over 70% off the newsstand price, and the handheld organizer and the travel alarm clock are yours free. Time Magazine, keeping you better informed. Call now.
Last time we talked to Terry McCarthy, the Los Angeles bureau chief for Time Magazine. He was trying to get in to Iraq. He had been on the border as a non-embedded reporter, as I recall this, and trying to get in. He has been in, and he's back in Kuwait, and Terry joins us now. It's good to literally see you. We can. You were in Qasr, is that right?
We crossed into Safwan. We drove down the road to Qasr, got stopped by gunfire, and then we headed up to the road to Nasiriyah. There was a lot of insecurity on those roads there, and I think it's going to take them a while to clean that up. A lot of fear too, Aaron.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't hear the last thing.
I was going to say there's a lot of fear too. I was listening to your previous guest talking about getting the confidence of the Iraqis. A lot of the Iraqis we talked to would say, what happens when the Americans and when the British leave?
They don't.
They're still not convinced that they're going to stay.
So this notion that the Pentagon has been, in fact, talking about that they have to convince the Iraqi people still that this is the real deal, that Saddam is gone, it's a matter of time, because the Iraqis, particularly in the South, looking at 1991, don't really believe it?
Yeah, I think there's a psychological hump they've got to get over there, which is to persuade a rump of the population in the South to start that they're there to stay. What's been happening is the American and British columns have been blasting through these small towns heading up north, and once they're gone, you know, Saddam's security apparatus is still intact, and they're coming back and they're taking retribution on people who seem to be too keen to welcome whoever had come through. Perhaps one of the markers there would be if they could take the southern city of Basra. That would be a tangible proof that they are there to stay and they mean business.
Did you get all the way? Did you get all the way to Nasiriyah?
No, we were heading up that road, and actually there was an ambush on that road while we were on the road. There was a British armored personnel carrier went over some kind of a landmine. It blew it off the road, and that actually stopped the road. The entire convoy was stopped for about 3 hours. This is the main supply route all the way up to the troops up in the north. We then had to turn around and come back on a minor road because they closed that road down for the duration.
Do you get the opportunity, have you had the opportunity to hear the briefings, both the briefings in Qatar and the Pentagon briefings? And give me, if you have, give me your sense of the credibility that you're, you know, or at least compare your experience with what you're hearing.
I think probably the biggest difference between what we are experiencing on the ground and what we're hearing from these briefings is the notion that they have taken the South. We see these maps where they say, well, we're controlling all this territory. Well, it's true that there are British and American troops that have rolled through that territory, but they're far from controlling it. And when you go into these villages, people there are scared because the apparatus, Saddam Hussein's security apparatus, has not been dismantled yet. I think the soldiers, when they come in armored columns, can move. Of course, they're not being opposed, but once they've gone, then you know the Mukhabarat, the Ba'athist party, they're still there. No one has taken them out.
Is it possible to tell from your experience how the Americans and the British will be received once the people feel more secure?
I think slowly we're seeing in areas where there has been a significant investment of military time and pacification, people are slowly starting to come out of their shells. I know yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues who is embedded further north. They went into a town. They had an Arabic-speaking interpreter with them. They asked the local people where were the Baathists, where were the security agents, and they said nothing, nothing, nothing. And then one of the town residents came up to the American Arabic speaker, and he said, "Listen, if you guys are really going to stay, I'll tell you where all these guys are. But if you're not going to stay, we're not going to tell you anything." So I think there is still that deep fear deep down in people who, after all, have been ruled by fear for the last 2 decades. They're not sure whether they can really come out of their psychological bunkers yet.
And on the humanitarian side, do you find people who are desperately in need of food and water, or are they getting along okay?
I think in Basra there's a desperate need for water because the water pumping system there broke down last week. I think what they're more looking for was medical aid. A lot of civilians were being hurt by the various bombing and shootings that are going on. They had no medical facilities to go to. Often they were cut off from the major towns because of the military action. It seems that people are certainly not starving yet, but they are obviously keen to take whatever handouts they can get.
Terry, let me one final question. Have you found it advantageous or disadvantageous, or neither, to be a non-embedded reporter working in the area?
I would say for the time being, Aaron, it's very difficult to work in the south of Iraq as a non-embedded reporter, purely because we don't have the protection of military armor. We're driving around in soft-skin vehicles, and in an insecure situation, that can be quite hazardous. However, as the security situation hopefully improves in the south, that should give us some latitude to report in ways that the embedded reporters will not be. After all, the embedded reporters by definition are traveling with military at their shoulder, and that might make it difficult for them to talk to the Iraqi people. We're hoping that once the security situation allows us to move around independently, we will be able to get better feedback from the Iraqi people themselves.
Terry, it's very good to see you. It seems a long time ago that we were here in Atlanta together. We're glad to see you looking well. Take care of yourself. Terry McCarthy,
thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. He's the Los Angeles Bureau Chief for Time Magazine back in our location in Kuwait. As Terry just mentioned, the battle for the confidence of the Iraqi people has clearly not yet been won. More on that from CNN's Christiane Amanpour.
Qasr is a dilapidated little town. At the marketplace, there's not much more than tomatoes, onions, and a lot of flies and opinions. Saddam Hussein is our president, says this woman. We love him, but we're scared of him. In fact, Ali, an anti-Saddam exile returning home with the U.S. Army, says these women don't dare speak out against Saddam Hussein just yet.
These people don't believe that the Americans can or will get rid of Saddam Hussein.
Yes, we've been hearing that every day that we've been here, and part of our job and our Free Iraqi forces are helping us to convince the people that we will stay until Saddam is gone.
As part of Army Civil Affairs, Colonel David Blackledge and his team interact with the people.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. How old are you, son?
They're trying to gain valuable information and their trust, but it's a hard sell. This is Iraq's Shiite heartland, and memories are deep and bitter. They'll not easily forget what they consider America's great betrayal during the Gulf War 12 years ago, when they were encouraged to rise up, only to be left to the brutal mercies of Saddam Hussein. Still, there are increasing, if tentative, signs that the people want to believe that this time it's for real. The Shiite flags forbidden by the Baghdad regime are fluttering during this holy month of Muharram. People gather around U.S. soldiers and they tell us they are looking forward to a new Iraq, one without fear of Saddam's reign of terror. I want my freedom, says this man. I don't want food or water. I just want my freedom. But actually, food and especially water are very much on everyone's mind. The Americans and the British promise to help us, they say, but when we ask them about the water, they tell us tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. This man tells us that all America wants is Iraq's oil. A sign of the danger still lurking here, these two men who flagged down the American Humvee and asked to surrender. We can't show their faces because they've been taken as prisoners of war, but they say they are Saddam's Fedayeen militias, sent down from Baghdad on pain of execution. Their mission? To conduct suicide attacks against American and British troops. But giving themselves up to these Americans, they said they didn't want to die for Saddam Hussein. Removing the image and the influence of Saddam Hussein is a main objective for the Americans and the British in this part of Iraq, and they hope by first stabilizing Qasr, word will then spread northwards and have an effect on Basra and beyond. In fact, the British sent 11 of these Challenger tanks into Basra to crush Saddam's statue in the center. Meantime, a steady stream of civilians continues to leave. It's a portrait of war with thick black smoke billowing from the city they leave behind. Some are surrendering to the British forces, and some of the men want to go back after bringing out their families. And to the question the British ask every day, when will the people rise up? The answer many give us, the day they know Saddam is dead. Christiane Amanpour, CNN, near Basra in southern Iraq.
We'll take a break. We'll update the headlines with Darren Kagan in Kuwait City, and our coverage continues in just a moment.
For more on the war in Iraq, log on to CNN.com.
Get reports from the front lines
Huge explosions.
and all the facts and features you need to track the war. Plus, sign up for breaking news alerts and be the first to know. Log on and stay informed at CNN.com.
Well, there was one year where I almost lost the entire backyard to crabgrass, and I vowed that would never happen again. The following year, I did use Turf Builder plus Halts. It not only got rid of the crabgrass, but it also greened up the lawn and thickened it. I used the cheaper brands, but I didn't have the color that I wanted, and I did have the weeds. Look how thick it is. Look at the color of it. There are no weeds. I take the credit instead of Scott's. I call it Luby Lawn. I'm very proud of the results that I get from Scott's. And there will be no crabgrass.
The war in Iraq continues, and no one takes you closer than CNN, live throughout the day. Stay with CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Most termite treatments are nearly as disturbing as termites themselves. Choose the Sentricon Termite Colony Elimination System from Cook's Pest Control instead. It eliminates the underground colony without tearing your house apart. Most treatments break down over time, but the Sentricon system stays on to monitor for future attacks. It's the only termite protection your house will ever need.
Looky, looky, looky. Here comes Cookie. Cook's Pest Control.
Restaurants have been part of the Demas family for generations. Over the years, they perfected unique recipes from the world over. Today, they serve the area's finest steaks, seafood, pasta, and chicken. For lunch or dinner, experience a legacy of fine food and superior service. The Demas family difference. Demas's in Murfreesboro, Nashville, and Lebanon.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
I'm Darren Kagan live in Kuwait City. Let's check the latest developments. At least 4 big explosions rocked a residential area in Baghdad, northwest of the Information Ministry. That happened early Sunday morning. CNN's Nick Robertson says that underground bunkers are believed to be in that vicinity. Meanwhile, in Basra, coalition troops continue the effort to uproot Iraq's ruling Ba'ath Party, blowing up Iraqi weapons and taking out a building along the way. British troops are taking no chances in their search for Iraqi troops in Qasr. They say they are increasingly finding landmines and booby traps in the port city as well as in Basra. British officials say that the booby traps include hand grenades linked to tripwire triggers. To Boston now, where about 25,000 people marched to protest the war in Iraq. Protesters listened to speakers and musical acts on Boston Common before marching to Boylston Street for a so-called die-in where they acted as mock war victims. In San Francisco, it was a different scene. About 500 people gathered at City Hall for a pro-troops rally. A mysterious illness that has sickened more than 1,500 people worldwide may be spreading more easily than first thought. The CDC says a rapid spread of the disease known as Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, or SARS, suggests it might be transmitted through the air. Plus, it could be able to live for hours on items like tabletops. The disease has killed 54 people in 13 countries. What some have called a symbol of a male-dominated culture has come down at the Air Force Academy. A sign with large letters reading, "Bring me men," was taken down Saturday. Nearly 60 female cadets have reported being sexually assaulted over the last 10 years at the Academy. And now back to Atlanta and Aaron.
And Darren, you got newspapers yet? Have they come in?
I have 2 newspapers for you. Stand by here.
This is the time.
We're up on a perch. It's a little windy here today, so we're up on a perch there. I have 2 for you. First, the Arab Times. Remember yesterday you were asking if the shopping mall, if the missile at the shopping mall had made the headlines. That happened at 1:30 in the morning 2 nights ago. So today it's the picture, and you get an inside look at the Shark Mall, but also the headline about the suicide bomber killing the 4 Marines.
And I don't know if, wait, stop a second, Darren. Go back to that one.
Hold on.
Go back to that one.
Okay.
Are they making a word play, or is that, seriously, is that just a misspelling of mall?
Oh, shopping mall?
Yeah.
I think it is a little pun. They tend to like to have fun with the fun, so to speak. I mean, take that in the right context with their headlines here. And then this paper, the Kuwait Times, they seem to like alliteration. So they've gone with Silkworm Shocks City. Not that easy to say, but there you have a picture. You have to be careful with that one. You have a picture inside the mall. I think what also is interesting here at the bottom fold, I know you can't see this, but this is a story about SARS, that respiratory disease. So even as war is just 50 miles away, other news from around the world starting to make the front page of the Kuwait Times here in Kuwait City, Aaron.
You know what's actually what is interesting to me about that is I was just looking at some Sunday papers from around the United States, and by and large, the front page is still dominated exclusively, by the war. Pretty much.
Interesting.
We'll see you in a half an hour. Thank you, Darren Kagan. Okay. We're joined now by Colonel Dan Ball, who's the, Colonel, I hope I get this right, he's the commanding officer of 5 Corps, Army 5 Corps, and he's out there in the desert somewhere, sir, and it's nice to see you. Tell us what your unit has, or your group has been involved in, and how you're all doing.
But let me make a quick correction. I'm nowhere near the commander of 5th Corps. I'm commander of an attack helicopter battalion called 1st Attack out of 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay, we'll give you the promotion, but you go ahead.
Well, you give me promotion, I'll let somebody else give me the money.
Okay.
We're doing great out here. The battalion was in some heavy combat the other day, and currently we're back in our assembly area, refitting and making sure we're ready should we get another mission to go back forward and attack. The soldiers are in good spirits. The helicopters are being maintained, and currently, as force protection measures, we're conducting just RNS missions in and about the assembly area.
Colonel, some of your guys, I suspect, were in Desert Storm, and some were not. How have the rookies, if you will, handled it all?
Well, they've done great. I was a company commander during Desert Storm, and I've got guys not only in Desert Storm, but some of my guys actually flew in Vietnam. So we've got a wealth of experience in this battalion, and together with their experience and the young guys, it's a great team. It's the first team, and I tell you what, everybody here is proud to be here, and we're looking forward to doing whatever our president wants us to do.
Colonel, have you had to deal with casualties, and how have your men dealt with it if you have?
We personally have not had any casualties. When we went forward and fighting the other day, all of our helicopters sustained damage, rotor blades, engines, fuselages, windscreens, but everybody but one came back, and that one, as we've heard, has been reported through the chain of command. They are captured as POWs, but as we know it right now, they're doing great. And our prayers are with them.
Our prayers are with them also. When something like that happens and you become aware that they are being held POW, how does that change, or does it change in any way, the way the people of your unit think?
Well, not really. They grow closer together. Anytime something like that happens, the team bonds even better, and they're more determined and resolute to accomplish the mission. And to get, of course, their friends and teammates back.
Colonel, were you surprised, and were your men surprised, or your pilots and weapons officers? I'm not sure if they're all men. Were they surprised by the level of resistance they faced that first night?
Well, quite honestly, yes. Much different than the last time we were here. Heavy gunfire, both small arms, machine gun, anti-aircraft, and surface-to-air missile. But I tell you what, there's a lot of brave patriots here. They did their job. They stayed in the fray until they accomplished their mission, and they came back and they're ready to do it again should they be called on to do so.
I don't believe anybody doubts that. I was out in the desert with one of those units when they were training, as I think you know, and one of the things I came away with was a sense that they felt the Iraqi side would not be as tough to deal with as they thought 12 years ago. I gather no one thinks that now.
Roger, but what can you expect? These people, it's their homeland. Pardon me. It's their homeland, and they're protecting their capital. So yes, they're going to fight. They are fighting, but we're fighting back, and we're winning all the time.
Colonel, take care of yourself and give our best to your men out there. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Colonel Dan Ball, who's in charge not of the whole group, but of an Apache group out there. And you'll recall, if you followed this day by day, several days ago, correspondent Carl Penhall reported on the video phone about this nighttime attack on one of the Republican Guard units, where they found much heavier resistance, and we thank the colonel there for being straight away on that. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and we appreciate that, that it was much stronger than they anticipated it would be, but they mostly, well, they all got back except for the 2 who are taken POW, and their prayers are with them, and I'm sure that's true of all of you as well. It's been a while now since we've seen or heard from those 2 men and the 5 others that we know of who have been taken prisoner. Now to the northern front, which appears to be growing day by day. Some heavy bombing again. In fact, some heavy bombing just moments ago. CNN Ben Wiedemann has the duty there, and he joins us now.
Yes, good morning, Aaron. Well, what you're seeing now is the smoke dissipating from a blast that just occurred about 3 to 4 minutes ago on this ridge behind me here at Kalak, of course, on the front lines between Iraqi and Kurdish forces. I can still hear a plane overhead. Basically, within the last 10 minutes, 2 bombs have fallen on this area, and we expect more. Usually a minimum of 4 fall within about a half-hour to 45-minute period. Last night, okay, I heard another crump in the distance, but it isn't in this particular area. Anyway, last night they dropped another 5 bombs on the ridge behind me, and really what we've seen in the last basically day and a half, 36 hours, is a real intensification of the bombing in northern Iraq. Not only did we see bombs fall on Mosul, in the direction of Mosul, but also to the south and the north, in addition to this frontline position. Aaron?
Has it grown dramatically day by day, or is it a kind of constant? I don't mean constant as in it goes on all the time. I just mean that each day is like the day before.
Well, basically, Aaron, what we've seen is every day there's been 1 or 2 instances, shall we say, half-hour, 45-minute periods of bombing, and that was about it. But really what's happened in the last day and a half is that they've really come with surprising regularity and intensity. So this really, I think we can say that the bombing has picked up, and I think I hear another plane overhead now. It's hard to tell when exactly they're going to hit, but they've hit twice already, 2 bombs on the ridge. We expect at least 2 more within the next few minutes.
Do you know what's on the ridge?
Well, we know that basically the Iraqi trenches are up there, and we've been watching them very closely for the last few weeks. Several hundred men along this ridge line that extends north to south. They do have mortars, for instance, heavy mortars, anti-aircraft guns, and some anti-tank guns as well. Now, we've been told by the Peshmerga, the Kurdish fighters, that they expect this line to start to fall, at least the troops to fall back. And this coincides with what we saw, for instance, yesterday on another area not too far from here, on the road from the Kurdish city of Kirkuk, or rather Erbil, to the Iraqi-controlled city of Kirkuk. And we saw that Iraqi forces basically, without any notice of any sort, just disappeared, pulled back about 10 miles from their position, and the Kurds went and occupied it. But we expect that sort of thing, as at least the Peshmerga expect that to happen here at some point, given the intensity of the bombing. Aaron?
From what you can tell, do these American planes fly with impunity? Is there any anti-aircraft fire thrown up at them?
There's occasional very light. I think they do fly with impunity. They're flying so much higher than the anti-aircraft, the normal anti-aircraft guns could reach. So it does appear, I mean, for instance, last night at about, I think it was 10 o'clock, 10:30, we did see one large flash in the sky above us, which appeared to be some form of anti-aircraft, but those planes are flying so high that I don't think they could be hit.
Ben, let's check back with you. Once again, thank you. Ben Wiedemann, who's been up in that area now for, Ben, how long, just before you get away, how long have you been up there?
Well, we've been in Erbil now 5.5 weeks.
Okay.
And in this area of Kalak, we've been coming on a regular basis. And now we've moved here. And we have a house and everything that goes along with that for about, basically, since the bombing began.
All the comforts of home, not.
Well, not
Ben,
quite.
Not quite. Thank you, Ben Wiedemann, who's in northern Iraq, part of the team with Brent Sadler and Jana Raff and Kevin Seitz and other CNN correspondents and producers, and obviously camera crews who are up in that part of the country as the coalition tries to form a northern front, which is still in its early stages. This war theater would look a lot different if the Turkish parliament had allowed the Americans to bring, and the coalition to bring their troops in through the north. That didn't happen, and so the formation of the Northern Front continues to build on a sort of day-by-day basis. Our coverage continues in a moment.
Epson T001, Canon BC31E.
Shopping for ink and toner in most stores is hit or miss.
HP C9720.
Come on.
A.
At Staples, we stock a huge selection of cartridges, so we guarantee we'll have the one you need. Online or in store, promise. HP 45.
Bingo.
Your ink and toner in stock. Staples. That was easy.
Introducing new America Online 8.0. With hundreds of new features, there's never been a better time to try it.
You've got mail.
With 8.0, I can customize my email.
AOL's new parental controls I can set up for each one of my children.
Now AOL searches are faster than ever with Google.
The customer service is free and it's 24 hours a day.
Call now and get 1,025 free hours for 45 days. There's no commitment and you don't even need a credit card.
America Online has so much more.
New AOL 8.0 with hundreds of new features. There's never been a better time to try it.
You decided. Once again, CNN is #1. For trust and experience, Americans choose CNN as the most credible news source. More than MSNBC or Fox News. More than any network, newspaper, or magazine. CNN is the most trusted name in news.
By and large, the both embedded and non-embedded journalists have pretty much had a good relationship with the military. There haven't been many issues, but there was one, and we're going to deal with that now. Phil Smucker, the Christian Science Monitor, was, I think the polite way to say, was asked to leave the country of Iraq by the U.S. military, and Phil joins us now from Kuwait City. And I'm a little confused, honestly, whether you were an embed or not. It was my impression you were not an embed, but I could be wrong.
That's correct, Aaron. I was moving through the country, in fact, with the help of the U.S. Marines, MP units, and 1st Battalion of the 5th Regiment of the 1st Division. So we were unilateral reporters moving to the front, and prior to our unfortunate incident, we were all getting along quite well.
And you want to explain what happened?
Well, yeah. In fact, I gave Q&A to CNN, and I was talking about our relative position in relation to Baghdad. There's only one main highway leading up towards Baghdad. It's not entirely finished, but it's between the Tigris and Euphrates. And I gave a rough estimate of our location. I said about 100 miles from Baghdad. Unfortunately, that turned out to be rather precise, by no fault of my own, I suppose. In any case, the general in the rear flagged this and told the colonel that that gentleman could be compromising operational security. Now, this is above my pay scale at the moment, and I have both the editors of the London Daily Telegraph and the Christian Science Monitor, as well as your own producers, who have reviewed the transcript and decided that categorically it did neither compromise operational security nor the lives of American soldiers, of course, which none of us would ever want to do.
And that's right. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, no one deliberately tries to give anything up here. The correspondents are trying to do this in a way that they can report the story and not endanger anyone, and I think this is the only instance where anyone's been asked to leave the country. How did they get you out? Did they just say get out of here, or did they walk you away?
Well, I was treated. I was joking with a couple of the Marines that as a security threat number 9 on a scale of 10, I was basically my phone was taken away, and I was at one point marched at gunpoint, and then I was shipped down through convoys south. But since then, it's been I've had some conversations with people. It's been resolved, at least here in Kuwait City, and I feel that certainly this won't balloon any further.
Well, I hope nothing we do makes it any worse, but we ask away. When you got a hold of your editors, did your editors get a hold of the Marines? Is that what happened? And you start management level negotiations and discussions?
Well, yeah, it turns out that it was a decision by the U.S. Marine Corps, and the Pentagon was, although we have very strong relationships with the Pentagon was at the moment engaged in a war and a little too busy to get involved in my case. So inevitably the order of the general was carried out. I was disappointed because it took me 7 weeks to get across the border because I'd been trying to get in northern Iraq through Syria, and I'd been kept out there. Then I finally got in. We had to go. It's very difficult. They're not letting in. The beef I really have with the military here is that they don't want unilateral reporters there. They want only the embedded reporters. And so by hook or crook, you have to get across. I'm on an assignment. My job, I've been doing 16 years, and you know, my mission is to get across that border. So it's a little unfortunate that we're kind of vying to get around, but one way or another, and fight our way into Iraq. Because once we get there, ironically, a lot of the units are very happy to help us and very friendly, and we certainly try our best never to put anybody's life in danger.
Do you have a problem with the embed process?
No, I don't. In fact, the only reason that I never signed up for it is because my assignment from the London Daily Telegraph was to go north and slip across the Tigris River into northern Iraq. And I was actually caught in the process, put under house arrest by the Syrian government for 2 days. And that sent me eventually down to Kuwait City to try to get across this border.
I'm just curious how you feel. You must be going crazy in a way. I mean, I think of our Nick Robertson, who was expelled from Baghdad, and I know Nick's going crazy, not being able to do the work that he's prepared to do and wants to do. Are you going a little nuts now, sitting in Kuwait, not getting to do your job?
Well, you know, Aaron, I'm thinking about the getting back, but I'm also thinking about the big picture here. This is a very difficult war to cover. Ideally, we would be entirely independent, and the sides would have to come to us if they wanted to get their story out. Unfortunately, in this war, we have to go to them, both in Baghdad and down here, and down south. So it's a very difficult war to cover. I don't believe that the embedded program has produced the kind of news coverage that we can really say this is a war as such, and that we're seeing the real killing, the bloodshed, the violence of war that really makes people think about a conflict.
So in that sense, you are critical of the embedding process.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that given the situation now, the security situation, it's absolutely impossible to give the viewer a complete picture, the reader, in my case, a complete picture of this war. And I think that is absolutely essential. We've got to try harder. It's you know, ideally, we can be completely independent and we can get this war across. But that's an ideal, and so we've got to strive towards that. And we may succeed, we may fail, but nevertheless, there's a story to tell here.
There is a story to tell. Phil, it's good to talk to you. Thank you for your time tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon, I hope. Thank you. Phil Smucker was on assignment, a freelancing assignment for Christian Science Monitor, and I think he said the Telegraph of London, when he ran into some problems. There haven't been many of those problems, and we're thankful for that. And the embedding process probably does have some limitations, and we'll live with that, because there are also, as Phil referred to, the unilaterals, Terry McCarthy we talked to earlier being one of them in the country, and ultimately the picture will get painted. It may not get painted in a week or 3 weeks or a month, but ultimately it gets painted. During the war, this embedding process that we're talking about has given all of us, I think, and all of you, a unique view of a lot of the aspects of military operations. Last night, Gary Tuckman of our staff, who's embedded with the Air Force, went along on a nighttime refueling mission, and this is what he saw.
As they get ready to head over hostile territory, the 10 men aboard this Air Force HC-130 search and rescue and refueling plane start to feel their adrenaline rushing.
And just to make sure we're flying in the spots that we're supposed to be going to.
The crew looks out for the unlikely prospect of Iraqi aircraft and the more likely prospect of Iraqi missiles or artillery.
Does your mindset change across the border into Iraq?
No, since I am in an area which I don't know where the enemy could be. From the time I get to the airplane, from the time I get out of the airplane, I'm thinking the same way.
Which is?
The hair on the back of my neck, if they start standing up, then something's going wrong.
Targets are holding steady out there. I don't know what it is. Falling off to 3 o'clock, 6 miles.
As a precaution, the crew starts turning the huge plane in circles to see what the targets do. Ultimately, it's discovered the targets are U.S. combat helicopters. Minutes later, the search and rescue helicopter arrives for its refueling. Watch the flash from our night vision camera as the plane's fuel line connects with the chopper. At times, they're only 50 feet apart, with the chopper's rotor blades even closer. Looking with the naked eye out of the plane, the helicopter is impossible to see. The pitch-black maneuver ends after 10 minutes.
What stops, though? We know the Iraqis have fired SAM missiles and fired AAA at aircraft all throughout this war. They haven't hit anybody. But isn't it risky flying so low knowing they have that ammunition to fire at you?
Again, we know where we're going. We know where they're at, so we simply avoid them. And if for some reason they do get off a lucky shot or they do see us, we have defensive systems on board the airplane to defeat their ammunition.
We all fly with bulletproof vests in case the plane goes down. We also fly with parachutes in case we need to get out before the plane goes down.
But 3 airmen aboard this plane have parachutes for a different reason. They are the para-rescue jumpers, or PJs, who jump off the plane for rescue missions.
In need, it's probably the best feeling in the world, knowing that your purpose is really defined at that moment.
No rescues were necessary on this sortie, and the plane arrived back to base safely.
Do you have any fear?
Everybody has a little bit of fear, but I think it's a good thing in this circumstance.
This crew could be back on another mission in as few as 24 hours. Gary Tuckman, CNN, aboard an HC-130 over Iraq.
Correspondent Gary Tuckman's experience. A couple of morning papers, maybe we'll do these in 2 batches today, but we have a minute or so to work with. The Times Herald Record, the Sunday, this is in upstate New York in the Catskills. I hadn't heard this paper. They do a nice job on the front page, and don't know what the rest of the paper's like, but it's probably good. Witness to Hell is the headline that will land on the doorstep this morning now in the east. In upstate New York, it was bomb rattled her Baghdad hotel room. Bombs rattled her Middletown, New York woman becomes a witness to hell. They always put a big picture on the front page. Keep me honest on time. The Sunday Denver Post and Rocky Mountain News, combined newspaper, plays the suicide bombing as their lead, but picked up a story from the New York Times. I gather this will be in the Sunday Times. Troops hardly a cross-section of the United States. The Times, and now reprinted in the Denver Post, I'm sure other papers, has done an analysis of what parts of the country and I gather the demographics of the hundreds of thousands of American servicemen overseas. The Sunday Journal, which I'm almost sure is Albuquerque, New Mexico, but it might be Santa Fe, in which case I apologize. Iraq will use any means. The Iraqi, the vice president said, we could kill 5,000 people at one time if we want to today, which made me think that's a warning that they're talking about chemical weapons. Whether they'll make good on it, we're not in that business, the prediction business, but that's what he said, and maybe that's what he meant. We'll take a break. Our coverage continues with Darren Kagan and the headlines after a short break.
America's most popular camera series is now digital. Introducing the all-new, all-weather, all-digital Stylus. Olympus. Nothing's impossible.
Introducing new America Online 8.0. With hundreds of new features, there's never been a better time to try it.
America Online has so much more.
You've got mail. With 8.0, I can customize my email.
You can pick what emails you want to see first in your mailbox.
With AOL's new parental controls, I can set up for each one of my children.
I can control when and how long they stay online.
Call now and get 1,025 free hours for 45 days and hundreds of new features.
Searching is quick and easy.
Now AOL searches are faster than ever with Google.
I can sign up to AOL from home or on the road.
There are more access numbers than ever.
The customer service is free and it's 24 hours a day.
They're friendly, they're responsive.
Call 1-800-901-9795 now and get started right over the phone with 1,025 free hours for 45 days. There's no commitment and you don't even need a credit card.
It's an AOL like you've never seen before.
New AOL 8.0 with hundreds of new features. There's never been a better time to try it.
I'm Darren Kagan, live in Kuwait City. It is just after 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. The latest headlines for you now, beginning with a fresh round of explosions reported this morning just south of Baghdad. No word yet on intended targets or the results. Last night, Iraq's vice president took to state TV to say that Iraqis are willing to die for President Saddam Hussein. The proof? Saturday's suicide bombing that killed 4 U.S. soldiers who thought they were responding to a civilian request for help. U.S. military officials say the new tactic won't change U.S. strategy, but it will sharpen alertness on the ground. And U.S. Marine Colonel Tom Bright, Chief of Joint Operations of Central Command, told CNN the U.S. war is on track.
The airstrikes that we're conducting, our land campaign and our special operations campaign that we're executing against the enemy is having a very good effect, and it will allow us to stay on our plan.
British Marines continue to weed out resistance in the deep-water port of Qasr. They have allowed for the opening of 12 distribution routes, primarily to Basra, so coalition